Our final project update, saving the biggest for last, is the high school. So we have with us Dom Tiberi from the owner's project management firm and the chairman of the high school building committee, TJ Recupero. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. I could save you to walk.
So welcome and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good evening. It's been a little while, and I wish Pat's a hard person to follow. Again, Mark reached out to me on Thursday to discuss this, and I put together a quick package. Your package has more than what I'm showing on a PowerPoint presentation, and I'll explain a little bit more. But there's so much that goes on in a construction project. We're at approximately 50% of the construction project. That includes the back end when we're doing the tear down of the old high school and building the football field, stadium, and the future soccer and track field. In the 38 years that I've been in the construction industry, when you get to that 50%, it's like going up a hill, and then that back end of the 50% is when you pick up a lot of speed. So as we talk about this, I'm going to first talk about some of the money, and then talk about the construction itself and where we are and where we're going in the next 6 to 7 months until we get to the time where school ends and we move. I can bring it up real quickly right now. I gave teachers packing boxes, a few at a time. I told them to get rid of that 5-inch floppy disk they've been saving for 20 years. You know, that house plant in the corner, and just to put basically curriculum items into their boxes as they're finishing curriculum. We are starting to cull out material out of the old high school, and we'll be bringing in shredders, and every few months I will be bringing in more boxes and getting that all settled. Concurrently, you'll see in the back of your package a kind of a scheduled timeline that we talk about furniture and equipment purchases. We'll talk about procuring the moving company. We'll talk about IT and when that will go out to bid as far as information technology, and communications. So, and as you look at that further down the line, the coordination of bringing the teacher's material over, the coordination of getting administration and guidance turned over into the new building, because they'll be working all through the summer. So there's a lot of planning to do that as we get the building ready for certificate of occupancy, which will be sometime early July, and then the complete turnover. In the meantime, I've talked to the district in regards to when we do close the old building and maybe having a ceremony there for the old building, sort of what I call the turning off the lights ceremony. There has been some discussion. Dr. Rizzi has talked about a concert in the middle of June. I think that's already been out there, which I think is a wonderful, I guess they have commissioned music for that concert. So there's a lot going on that's not just construction related. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that takes some time, and we have a good crew of people, not just on the construction end, not just on the architectural end, but as far as the project management end. So we could put up the first slide. I don't know, TJ, if you wanted to.
No.
No?
Let you speak, Dom. And
If you don't mind, I'll...
Can you take the microphone with you?
Yes, I will. That should be it. Yep, thank you. Uh-oh. Try my power. You want want to try it this way?
Try repair.
Yeah. You'll all be quizzed on this later. So, I just wanted to show this to you. This is our main street coming into the building. You can see the grand stair here going up to the second level of the auditorium. You can see here administration. Down the hall here would be where our cafeteria will be. And off here to the side will be the first floor auditorium, and right here is the gymnasium. So there are different levels here. This is where, on the second level, this area here, which is now called the Learning Commons. When I grew up, it was called a library. And then you see that second floor, which takes you all the way around on the second level where the Learning Commons is. There's music over here and drama. There's also the large group room, et cetera. So we'll go to the next slide, please. The next slide, we'll just talk about a budget update. The last time we met, this was the same kind of format. I just wanted to review this quickly with you. We had a budget originally of $99,961,191. We've had change orders to date. So, I'm sorry.
Million.
Thank you.
I was feeling pretty good until you corrected him.
I apologize.
Right on the
I apologize. We've had some approved change orders that brought our number up from, that's the original was 92,000,007. Now we're at 93,800,000. Some of that has to do with security enhancements. Some of that has to do with bringing the photovoltaic array back into the project. That takes a good portion. I don't want to get into the real details. A majority of that were details that have improved the project, and of course there's some things that were missed, and that's part of having a construction manager and an architect, and we've gone through those items as we work through that with the building committee on a monthly basis. Project contingency, project contingency for the project itself currently is at $2.9 million, which is not bad when you think we're at 50%, and we haven't really spent too much in that. That's part of our change order log. And the owner contingency, which has part of that had to do with some amendments that were given to both myself, which is the construction management, and the architect, is down to the $617,000. But as you recall, this project came in with under budget, and the Mass School Building Authority is still working on the project funding agreement. But where we feel that we're at, we have $2.4 million that can go back into owner contingency. So there is more money there for us. We are looking at utilizing that properly when we talk about the furniture and equipment and information technology. So for a project of this size of $124+ million, we're in very good shape. Concurrently, the construction contingency of Consigli is relatively high for a project like this. We've worked with them on certain items that they have absorbed, and we've made an agreement that if they do go out and utilize all of it, which we can't see that's possible where we are right now, that we will work with them at the end of the project. But at this point, they're in very good condition. And the project itself, as we look at some of our photographs currently, we'll show you where we are. And then I have the little note here on the CPC. Nothing has changed because obviously the CPC will be coming in the second phase of the project. So can we go to the next slide? The next slide, as we reconcile our budget, we have the construction manager work with us and tell us where he's at. Sometimes there's a surprise, and we do this on a monthly basis. This is given to the school building committee on a monthly basis, so we just wanted you to be aware of what the breakdown is from Consigli Construction and how we change that with our budget as we go along. So that you can review on your own, but it's very similar to what I was presenting on the first page. It just connects. Next slide. Okay, now the fun. Just to get you reestablished where we are, obviously this area here, and for those who can't see, I apologize, but this area here is the new building. This here is the B and C wing, which is the academic wing, and down here is where the auditorium and chorus and band and drama is, and this area here is where the gymnasium, just to situate you. This is the existing high school here. This is the pathway getting into the construction area around. So going from there, the project is right now over 530 days of safety. There hasn't been a reportable injury for the entire project. We take great pride in that. Knock on wood, it's been a very, very safe project. Consigli Construction, I think for those people who've taken walks in the building, I think, Rick, you have taken a walk in the building, they do a good job cleaning up, and that's part of the safety. The first thing I wanted to mention as we talk about where we're at is we're doing this project top down. So the construction really is, right now, the third floor is the most finished in the academic wing. So on the third floor right now, and you'll see photographs, the third floor you'll see the classrooms already have paint on the wall. They have grid systems in place. We're already starting to do ceramic tile work. We're already putting in radiant heat. So that's on the third floor. On the second floor, the board is up, the tape is up. We're sanding and getting ready for the same thing, paint, grid, etc. On the first floor, the walls are open. We're asking for inspections, in-wall inspections, and that will follow too. As you turn the corner, meanwhile too, the roofs are all in this area here, and we're finishing up the roof over the gym right now, and there are some smaller roofs here that we're tying in. Going in the future, once the roofs are completed, what I like to do is part of our testing and inspection, we'll have an infrared done in the spring to see if, as people walk on the roof, sometimes a nail or something is left up there, there might be a puncture mark. In the spring, I'll find out, once everybody's off the roof, if there is an issue there. With the infrared study, we can pinpoint that in before we turn the place over. In the auditorium area, they built basically what they call it a dance floor. The dance floor goes up about 40 feet in the air, and that gives access above the auditorium for all the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing equipment and fire protection. So that's complete right now. We're turning that over to all the mechanical trades. In the gymnasium, they're starting to hang the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection. And as we go further, I have some photographs to show. A couple of things to note is that we are doing our temporary heat because we are going to be bringing in the next couple of months, we'll be closing on all the way around the brickwork, and the CMU, which is the concrete masonry units, will be complete. So the building will be all tied in. All the windows will be tied in. And that's when we start to bring in some of the interior finishes like casework. To do that, we have to heat the building. We don't have permanent heat right now, so we are bringing in propane heat, located in 2 locations here and 2 locations here, and blowing within the building. So there'll be propane, and we've worked that out with Chief Larissy and the building department for the next 4 months. Hopefully it'll be warmer, but there'll be a point in time where we can turn the systems over to the existing high school systems. One thing too, we've been working closely with the school administration for the turnover next September, so we're always thinking ahead as much as we can. Consigli and Compass have talked to Principal Miller about keeping this road here available in the future. Originally, we were not going to have this, but for the future, when parents are dropping off, they'll be able to drop off and head towards the middle school, and then we'll have this road available for the buses going off to the middle school. So that is being coordinated right now. We meet with Principal Miller every Wednesday at 9 o'clock to talk about any possible issues that we have as we're going through the construction project. Why don't we go to the next slide and I can talk further. So you'll see different times. This is today. You're looking at photographs that were taken today, and you'll see different levels of finishes as we talk about this. This is below the gymnasium. This is the future locker room. There's a lot of underground plumbing when you talk about a locker room. So the plumbing is done You can see them sticking out through the slab here. The slab was completed, and you can see the layout of the block work. One thing I have to say about the block work, I just wanted to mention, on the exterior of this building, these large blocks, every single block on the exterior is fully grouted with structural steel rebar in there, and then they're crisscrossed. So this is probably one of the strongest buildings I've ever built in 38 years of construction. This building is solidly built. And you can see up here the mechanical, that's your heating and cooling. You can see up above there your sprinkler system. Go to the next slide, please. So just to show you some of the finishes from the outside, this is an inner courtyard, and what you're looking at here is the greenhouse, the future greenhouse. It's being completed, but you can see all the punch windows are in place. You can start to see some of the siding going up above. Below that, you'll probably see a picture of below that is the air vapor barrier, which is the waterproofing, et cetera. I will say that we have 4 firms doing testing and inspections for air penetrations, for masonry reports on it, and for concrete strength. So we have quite a bit of testing going on to make sure this building is properly, and when we turn it over, a very, very solid building for the town of Stoughton. Next slide, please. This is looking at it from another point of view. Here's your greenhouse. So you can see this is the interior. You can see this curtain wall here. That's part of the glazing. You can see the roof level up here. You can see off to the distance a little bit of the screening. It kind of loses itself a little bit. And this here is called Callawall. It's what's going to be above the atrium, so you get some sun, well, get basically light, not sunlight, but it's going to diffuse through the Callawall. So you'll see another picture, but if you remember the rendering where we had the main street, you saw that atrium cut. That's what this is here, and you'll see a better picture of it shortly. Next one, please. So if you remember the rendering, this was Main Street. There's the main stair going up to the second level. And this is that atrium I was talking about, the Callawall. That's all been installed. So the hope is by the end of December, this building will be completely tight, and that's why we're heating it up and getting ready for finishes right now. Next slide, please. As you can see, just wanted to show some of the exterior corners. You can see the punch-out windows. You can see the curtain walls. We are starting to bring in the cornice. I saw a piece of cornice come in today. It was installed. You can see here a lighting pole that's getting ready for the pole to come in, but you can see the electrical coming across here, getting placed in the area. Next slide. Here's a little bit of a vision coming from the West Elementary School looking over. So you can see sort of progress that the masonry firm has been doing, but also the waterproofing company. The gray area here is what they call the air vapor barrier. It's applied, a spray application over the insulated board that goes in there. So that is also tested. We have a company called Gale Associates. They come and test that product. And we have had about 24 air and water tests on various windows throughout. Some failed, and we found out where the issue was, and we took care of that. And it seems like we've conquered that. Things that have bothered me over the years is sometimes you have a great window system, but every year the window companies change the system, so you have to do the testing, and that's why we do the testing, because sometimes it's just a different application, especially in the Northeast, the way the wind pounds at it. So we do testing up to hurricane levels on the window systems. Next picture. This is on the interior. This is facing the high school. You can see that you can see the paint. It's hard to see, I know, a little bit, but you can see the paint. The window's in place. You can see the future that we'll have a sill here. This here is radiant heating panels. So you can see the radiant heating panels that'll be at every classroom. You can see the grid now. You can see some of the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing above that's been insulated. Next picture, please. I love this photo. I'm colorblind, so I have no idea what the colors are, but there are various colors throughout the high school, and this was sort of the sample board we wanted to show the color committee. But you can also see up above here the grid system. you can see all the mechanical systems in place. So this is one of the classrooms, and leading out into the classrooms, you can start to see the ceramic tile in the corridor area. If you go to the next slide. And that's coming out of that classroom, going down the corridor. Again, it's tough because we don't have the actual lighting in place, so once everything closes in, you can get a better feel for it. You can get a better feel, obviously, when the flooring goes in. But this gives you an idea where we are today. And as I say, it's sort of a cascade thing. We've started on the third floor, and it's starting to really pick up speed. We've gone from about 90 tradespeople up to almost 150 tradespeople within the last 2 months. And there'll be more as the finishes come in. Next, I think. Just a rough idea, just so you see it. Looking up at some of the space. This piece of equipment here is your air conditioning and heating system. You can see the flex pipe coming over. This is low voltage wiring for your IT. And you see the grid system. You see the fireproofing of the decking here. Just to give you an idea what goes on above the ceiling. And before we close the ceiling, that's also inspected by your building department. And obviously electrical and plumbing. I think that might be it.
The last slide.
Yep. So. That's it. Just, again, wanted to give you a quick update, and really, I feel better when I take questions.
Thank you very much. Amazing. It's amazing. TJ, you've been uncharacteristically quiet. Anything you want to add?
I'm here as window dressing. If I can say, I met with Dom today in the trailer and was privileged to take a tour of the building in its present state. I know a few of the members have taken recent tours, but not to the extent that you'd just be amazed at what has gone on in the short period of time since we last walked through the building. And it's incredible to see tile on the walls and paint on the walls and see classrooms that look like classrooms. And I think it's a credit to Pat Basler spoke about the library committee, and I can't say enough about the building committee members, several of whom are here tonight, past and present, who have worked for the last 4 years on this project. And we have a real live high school coming to Stoughton in a hurry. And it's and thanks to the people who we've hired to oversee this project for us, because I think we made some really good choices, and it's going better than we planned, both on budget, on timing, and in timing for me. Dom would always disagree with that, of course. But, so I'm just very pleased.
Cautious.
I don't have anything more to say other than thank you for inviting us, and thank you for Dom for presenting that.
I'd like to come back early spring, and then I'll have some photographs that have some clear lighting. I apologize for the quality of the photos today, but.
Look forward to it. Let's start. Rick, you're on the building committee, so you already know a lot of the answers to questions you'll ask. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a Q&A at home before I got here with myself. I can only echo what TJ has said, and who, by the way, deserves an amazing amount of recognition for the steering and direction of that committee. We've hit all the right steps in identifying and hiring the right principals to execute on this project. So from the owner's project manager, then to the architect, and then to the construction company, everyone has just done a stellar job and has exceeded expectations. So the last tour that I took, it was so wonderful to see how much of it had come together, but that was, 6 or 8 weeks ago, I think, Tom. So today it would be a completely different tour and experience. So I think one of the trepidations that you probably have is once this building is done, is then next stage is to then take down the existing high school. And of course, there's a reason why there are contingencies there, as large as they are, the just in cases. You know, what do you run into when you tear down a high school? Well, you don't know what you don't know until you get there. And that's something that's going to be important to get down the road. But at this point, I am reluctant to say on time and ahead of schedule, but the project's always been on time and ahead of schedule, even hitting some different bumps. We've implemented some terrific enhancements along the way as we were able to seek our way clear financially to be able to do those, and we've taken pretty much every aspect of this project into consideration and have done it with consideration to all the concerns that folks will have for this building, from energy efficiency to safety to all kinds of things. So, great stuff.
I'm as I parrot what Pat said, I've been very lucky to work with the district, the facilities group, the town agencies have been great to deal with. So yeah, this has been a very good project as far as cooperation goes, and not only just the process itself.
And you meet with Ms. Miller every Wednesday?
Every Wednesday with Principal
She sent
Miller.
you to detention yet for any of these projects, or?
No.
Because simultaneously, go ahead.
We console each other about issues.
Because simultaneously, you've also executed on the Jones School for this.
We completed the Jones School work that we did receive a certificate of occupancy, so that has been complete. We are now in the process of moving the departments one by one over.
Yep.
That's starting with SPED at the end of this month, and we're probably arranging most of the moves in April school vacation, but the facilities are available and came in within the budget that we had set, so that was good.
And actually, before schedule, ahead of schedule,
We're slightly ahead,
with some left turns where additional, I believe, fire safety monitoring equipment was prescribed towards the end of the
Yeah.
project that wasn't in the original
And
scope.
we're looking at other life safety items just to follow up with Chief Larracy's request, so.
Yep. So there is a color committee, there is a financial subcommittee, there's a bunch of subcommittees that have gone into this project, which have been fun. Anyways, thank you so much.
Yeah, I just want to also add that we talked about the second phase, which will be the tearing down of the old high school. We did follow up with a second survey throughout to see if we could identify more of the hazardous material that might be within that high school, so that we won't have surprises. But they're always, like you had said, that why I'm cautious is sometimes it's not where you think it is, and you'll find it. But I think we've done a great job surveying the high school itself to find these things so that we are better prepared when we are allowed to go in there to take that high school down and get going on the second phase of the project. So.
Awesome.
Sullivan.
No comments. Thank you, gentlemen, very much. Fantastic progress. Thank you.
Ms. Howe.
Thank you both for being here tonight, and it's been a pleasure working on the committee with you both and working with you, Dom, and as well as our construction manager and our architects. I was just going to ask for you to provide an update on the district offices at the Jones School, but you did that with Rick, so he beat me to it. But I would just like to also say that you've been very interactive with the schools throughout this process, not just the administration and the staff, but also the students. They've been able to, you've provided presentations on the project so they can, learn about the process, and they've participated in some of the subcommittee work in terms of, most recently, the artwork for the murals and providing input on that. So I think it's been a really interactive process for them. It's no fun to have your high school under a construction site, but we've done the best we can as a community, I think, and especially your work in this committee to make it the smoothest construction time as possible at the high school. So I just wanted to point that out, and thank you again for being here tonight.
Thank you. I just also want to just give props to the architect DRA and to the construction manager Consigli. They both volunteered time to teach certain classes of engineering and science, et cetera. And Principal Miller really appreciated it, so they did take out some of their time for that.
So I have two very elementary questions. The first one is,
You can't ask elementary questions.
At a high school?
This is a high school.
so for this building, what's the expected useful life of it?
Pardon me, I'm sorry.
What's the expected useful life? Like, how long do we expect this building?
Well, they always say 50-year life of a building is what we're striving for.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've never built a building that is structurally this strong. This building will probably be maybe not a high school in 50 years, but it'll be for something.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, the people who are going to tear it down will curse us because it's so well built. So I foresee 4 generations in this high school easily.
Okay. And the other question I had was, this might be for for Mr. Recupero. From the time that this idea of a new high school popped into someone's head to I guess we'll say the next school year, what time frame was that? How long did that take?
30 years?
Well, the committee was formed in 2014, but it started long before then. I want to say like 2009. There was a study committee looking at the old high school, and actually, at that time, they were dealing with accreditation issues. I mean, they were trying to stay ahead of the accreditation services so that they wouldn't have to suffer any repercussions for losing accreditation. So, I mean, it's been a long time in the making, but 4 years the committee's been in its business. And
4 years.
Since town meeting approved the project.
yeah, and you know, you look around, like, so Dom just said, we have a 50-year life of building. The newest part of the old building is older than 50 years.
Yeah.
Not as well built, and the oldest part, of course, is
90.
90-something. But interesting thing, just 30 seconds if I can. So Dom knows this story. So DRA, our architect, every year they run a fellowship program in-house where they give their employees a grant and 2 weeks off, I think it is, if they propose something some project that will help the firm. And so last year's, I was fortunate enough, they asked if I would serve as one of their judges. So I went there, and last year's winner was presenting his project, and he was going through a study of 3 things that affect educational performance in buildings: light, sound, and air quality, or temperature specifically. So, and he used Stoughton High School as one of his case model studies. So he went through and measured all of the light and all of the sound quality and all of the acoustics that you can hear from reverberating lockers in the, and all of those things, studies have all shown this, but all of those things have a measurable impact on education. So, I mean, it's just remarkable to me to see bricks and mortar, but remarkable still will be when we close out this project in 2-3 years, when final accounting is done. And we actually see how that, we see how that equates to the students of Stoughton, because I think right now they're dealing with a lot of obstacles. If you could see the test results from his, sound measuring devices and his air quality, and students in Stoughton every day are suffering through obstacles that they ought not. And I feel bad for those who are in high school now and won't ever have the pleasure of being in this high school. But that's the part that I really look forward to. Now, actually, I'll miss you, Dom, but I just want the project to be done.
But you'll notice too, then when we were showing those photographs, how much fenestration is on the building. Every single classroom, other than really where you have your black box there, that's obvious, and your band room and drama room, you have a lot of natural light.
Yeah.
So that's why you have inner courtyards, so every single classroom gets some lighting, and that's part of that. And also the way we do our acoustics, even students with hearing impairment can easily have their situation addressed. So it is a 21st century, learning facility. It is. I'm happy. I've grown up in this industry. I've worked in universities, hospitals, and schools, and to see the transition from when I started in the early 80s to where we are now is amazing.
Yeah. So does anybody happen to know when the last time a school was built in our town?
Gibbons School.
Gibbons, and what year was that?
66? Gibbons School was built in 65, 66?
Gibbons School?
Yeah.
No, it was built in 70 or 71.
70, 71.
71? Wow. So the reason why I'm asking these questions is that, I can't help but, so the last time we did it was 71. So the work that you guys have done has really been breaking some new ground for us in a lot of ways. It's lit a path for how we might be doing this in the future. We have eight schools, and we have a number of municipal properties. And if they each have a useful life of, say, 50 years, but let's be generous and say 60 years or 70 years. We're still talking about having to turn these things around, and we don't want to end up in a place where we have to do 8 schools or 7 schools simultaneously. So we having some forethought about this is going to be something we would have to address, and the model you've set for us has been excellent. But if it takes 4 years to go from concept to opening day, and roughly 6 years to per school, each cycle to get each one done, 50 years or 60 years, or say, then we, this essentially is going to have to be an ongoing process of fixing our schools, or just allowing them to decay to nothing, or be facilities that are not appropriate for the modern age.
Well, I know, Dom, actually, the schools have been pretty good. MSBA has their new school construction program, which we're doing this project. They also have their accelerator repair program.
Yes, sir.
And schools have been pretty good. The school committee and the superintendent's office have been pretty good about, Dom's actually working on one at the West School.
Majority of those accelerator repairs deal with roofs, mechanical equipment replacement, and window replacement. So I'm right now in the midst of a torturous job at the West Elementary School because of the contractor, but we'll get there. But I think in general, I think all of the elementary schools have had their window replacements done. So I will say one thing that you had mentioned, Steve, was in regards to the structure is strong. It's the, and I was the director of facilities at Tufts University in Boston for a few years. The biggest issue always has been, because nobody names a mechanical room after some donation. It's is that the facility's operational budget and how you look at the life cycle cost of any building. At the end of this project, I will give the facilities department a life cycle breakdown. You replace your chiller in 20 years, you replace your elevator in 50 years. There's a whole list. And and I've always said that if you don't follow it, then you'll have the same problems you'll have with buildings that you had built in the 50s and 60s and 70s. Because you have to maintain those buildings as far as when those time periods are coming around and your equipment becomes obsolete. So it's...
I'm sorry if I took it off, sort of away from this, but I think that's really a really important point that something I've advocated for in the past is essentially a fund that we could squirrel money away for these maintenance projects, so we're not deciding whether to put a bathroom in one school or air conditioning in another. We have to make difficult choices, and each one's going to cost $1 million, and so I guess we're just going to have kids who can't have air conditioning or can't have a bathroom. It's kind of ludicrous, especially if you know well in advance, perhaps decades in advance, what the expense will be. There's no reason to be surprised by it, and so it'd be nice to implement those types of things. And the work you guys have done has really been outstanding, and it's also, as I said, it's lit a path for us. So with other projects as well. So thank you so much for your effort.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Wait, I think Rick has one more.
I'm sorry.
I apologize, I should have included this note.
Your mic on?
I apologize, I should have included this note in my earlier comments, but this is all the feel-good stuff. The reality sets in for all of the residents because the cost of this starts showing up in the tax bills. So we're very cognizant of that. One of the things that the committee did early on was to go out, seek out all the assistance programs that might be available to folks that might be in need of assistance to manage through the tax piece of it. And we're refreshing that right now, and we'll republish it. There are more resources available than we'd had previously. It'd be nice to be able to, we're not expecting, seniors to be able to go out and navigate through some of this stuff because it's a little complex. We want to figure out how we can have assistance available where they can, just simply call somebody, or they can get assistance maybe at the senior center, or at the state government, I believe, is also actually creating some additional facilities for that. So That'll be coming shortly, before the end of the year for sure, but we're going to be publishing that. And we'd like to be able to break out the tax impact if we could. Right now, there are regulatory issues, accounting issues, Mass General Law issues prevent us from doing that on the tax bill. But maybe we can get an insert or something that would go in and explain, what individual properties' experiences are. So anyways, more to come, but thank you.
Can excuse me, can I also just very briefly, something Dom brushed over when he was talking about budget, and he mentioned the change orders we've had. Rick made me think of this, not in his last comments, but Christine and Rick can both, or Selectmen's Hill and Howe can both attest to this, that Dom mentioned that of the change order money that we've expended to date, a good portion of that has been towards security. And I think this is a good forum because a lot of people do watch these meetings, and we did try to be very visible with our recent security upgrade discussions, but I think it bears emphasis whenever we can that parents of school children have different concerns than they did, 10, 20, 30 years ago. So the committee has put a real emphasis on security in the new high school. It will have the highest and best security. Actually, it's being still discussed and still upgraded constantly. So I just didn't want to gloss over that because I do think it's a significant point.
And we're not doing it in a vacuum. Public safety is involved at every meeting, so there's a lot of input from school administration, the fire department, the police department, et cetera. So.
Yeah, another subcommittee
Yeah,
too.
and we have a security subcommittee, and there's a lot of conversation about it. Good conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Happy Thanksgiving.
Do you have a question, Ms. Walsh?
No, I have a comment. I know you folks don't have as much time to read as I do, but you may, the Globe magazine on Sunday, they had the 100 best places in Massachusetts to work, and one of them was Consigli.
Congratulations. Was it Consigli at the Stoughton High School site? Well, thank you all. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and hope to see you soon.